Welcome to Parking Lot Takes, where the conversation continues with our spoiler discussion for Captain America Brave New World. That's Christian, I'm Brandon, and we're going to give you all of our spoiler thoughts coming out of the film. Now, I will say, if you haven't seen the movie yet, go check out our non-spoiler out of the theater review. It's just a few minutes long. You can check it out, but today we're going to get into all the spoiler goodness. Now, I wanted to kind of start with some of our overall thoughts on it. We've sat on it for a couple days now. What are we kind of feeling? Here's where I'm kind of at with it. Overall, I was very excited going into the film, but I'm very disappointed. Give me kind of where you're at now that we've sat on it, just for a little bit of time.
Going in, I was very excited. I was also very nervous, but I was also optimistic and really open to being proven wrong. I didn't go in thinking it was going to be absolute garbage. So not saying that's what I think, but going in, I wasn't like, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Some of the opening shots, as a plus, I think work. I think some of the story decisions, we see the leader very early on.
Yeah,
now,
we did.
having not seen the rest of the movie, I thought that was interesting, and
Yeah, I
I
did
thought
too.
that piqued my interest a little bit.
Definitely.
In a grander sense, I think with the rest of the movie that doesn't work, and I think there's a solid argument to be made that we should not have known about the leader that early.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's some really cool shots with Thaddeus Ross in the beginning, taking the presidency.
Yes.
I think those work. I think those are cool. Honestly, like the first third of the movie, I think generally looks really good.
And it has some cool cinematography shots. Like they do some interesting things, it feels like. So you're getting the sense of, they're adding some flavor into this.
The set designs look good.
Yeah.
When they're going to the military base, I think the entire military base, the way that's shot looks really good.
It does, yeah. I think some of the things like the suits look really good. I think there's some moments in that opening sequence where I like some of the action. I think some of the choreography works. I think other times maybe not so much, but there are some moments throughout the film where I do see what they're trying to do, and I think it works. Not always, though.
No.
I will say some of the action does work for me.
Okay.
I think...
Talk specifics. Tell me when and where.
So the one that I always feel like I'm going back to when I'm thinking about this is the Indian Ocean sequence.
Okay.
Now, it's kind of it's sort of the middle of the movie because there's quite a bit towards the back half. But when they're in the Indian Ocean sequence, when Sam is kind of like flying in at like Mach 1, I think it looks really good. I think some of the dogfight sequences with the fighter jets, I think moments of it look really good. But unfortunately, there's just some things that just take me out of those sequences. And we can kind of talk more about that because I feel like every time I see something that I like, something pulls me out of the film. But I do think some of the action works in some parts of the movie.
I think the tension works the most for that.
Yeah.
Because you have the leader, and we've just learned that he is, basically, he's been juicing Thaddeus.
Yeah.
And for a while. And there's some tension with, he's trying to get, basically, I just use it. He's basically trying to get Thaddeus to Hulk out.
Yes.
On this
Exactly.
What do you call it? Ship. What's
On the carrier.
On the carrier.
Yeah.
He's trying to get him to Hulk out on the carrier.
Because he's like on the phone trying to.
Now, where this is absolutely just a miss is that we see when the Hulk out happens in the trailer, so there's almost not a lot of tension because
no, not at all.
We know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The more thing that shines is Harrison Ford's acting in that moment.
Definitely.
But the tension, I think, works between the two. You have Japan, Thaddeus, the leader of Japan, and Thaddeus are at odds.
Yes.
Because there's some accusations back and forth about his intentions.
Yeah.
And he thinks that, Thaddeus is trying to basically, he is accusing Thaddeus Ross of stealing vibranium from them just to save it to gain his trust is basically what...
Or adamantium.
Adamantium from him. And so basically they're at odds, and the leader takes control of some of the pilots' minds and starts attacking. I think that works. I think that's a cool idea.
It's a cool idea, yeah.
I think what this movie is just plagued with is a introduction to something interesting and then just awful execution.
Yes.
Awful execution to the point that you just should never introduce the other thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So while that's interesting, it's executed so poorly that I just don't even think they should have done it.
Yeah.
There is something so goofy. Oh my gosh, so freaking goofy about this the dialogue in this moment, because we're talking about it and I noted it.
Yeah.
Is when the Japan leader, he goes to Thaddeus and he's like, I have confirmed that you stole adamantium from us and then went and stole it back from yourself to gain my trust. And the line that Thaddeus Ross delivers after that as his explanation is, why would I steal it just to have Captain America go get it? What a nonsense. That makes no sense.
No sense whatsoever.
No sense. That is literally what he's accusing you of. It makes perfect sense why you would do it, to gain favor with him so he would sign your treaty.
Yes.
That is the most dumb response to that. Why would you... You set up this whole sting operation thing to make yourself look good. Why would I do that? That is what he said.
Yeah.
Why would... No, you have everything to gain from doing that. That's a terrible response.
And that's just bad writing.
That's just awful writing. It's
just
just such terrible writing.
Because I would think, now I haven't written any films, but when you're writing these characters in these big moments and, that's supposed to be a huge conflict, you would think through that. Like, does this make sense? Does this work? And it doesn't make sense at all for him to say that, because
terribly written.
By him doing that, of course, he's going to get favor with them for that. So it's nonsensical for him to say that.
No, it's such terrible writing. And when he first gets accused of it, his response is, "You're so stupid. You don't even know when you're being played." How freaking vague do you want to be?
Yeah.
Like, that's so vague. That doesn't. It's like they want. It's so convenient.
Yes.
It's so convenient that it's like the writing's so bad and just it's not even like convenient. There's movies where it's like things are convenient but they're written well. This is
not.
So it's like I guess as an audience we're just backed into a corner of feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
I just the dialogue, that was something I thought about when I thought dialogue was really, really bad.
Yeah.
The other time I think dialogue is just so bad is that the over explaining and exposition dumps in dialogue
really
in
bad.
action scenes is so jarring.
Yeah.
And they do it during the Indian Ocean sequence
they do.
Constantly.
Yeah.
There's moments where we
like
see
call outs.
like it's like as a general rule of movies, it's show us, don't tell us.
Yes.
They show us, then tell us over and over and over
yeah.
again, and it's so annoying and it's so jarring. Like moments when we see 2 missiles get destroyed and one remain,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's still, it's like, oh my gosh, we blew up the other 2, but there's still one.
Yes.
That feels like I'm watching morning Disney Channel
Exactly,
Mickey Mouse
yes.
Clubhouse type yo soy Dora. Like, do you see the castle? We're gonna
Yes.
go to the castle. Oh my gosh!
Like, we know.
That's so dumb.
We just watched it happen.
Well, I don't know.
Obviously, you're going to have to dive to go get it.
That's a moment where I'm just like, who made this movie? Who watched that
Yeah.
scene and thought, oh, we need to add dialogue? Because one, that dialogue is not ran. It is just pure.
Yes.
It's pure. Like, it's not ran through a filter where it sounds like it's coming through a comm. It's just
It's just their
It's
voice.
just their voices, and it's just so jarring and weird. There's another moment when the Thaddeus Ross's like personal bodyguard
Yeah.
is part of the Widow program.
Yes.
Awesome, cool concept. Terribly executed. She's not cool at all. Like,
Yeah.
she has no
Drop the ball so much
dropped.
with
That was such a cool idea, not executed.
Yeah.
Not developed whatsoever. And she has a call out during the Hulk fight that's like, Sam, what are you doing? And it's like not run through a comm, like sound design wise. It's just her voice. Sam's 100 feet in
So
the
we
air.
just believe that he hears her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so many choices. I would say one of the biggest things I got from coming out of this is they started so many things and dropped the ball every single step of the way.
Yeah. So,
Like action sequences, you go, oh, this is kind of interesting. They're introducing adamantium. You're like, oh, I see. Maybe this plays into the, overall MCU. They're doing something here. The conflict with the nations, the leader, and like microdosing like Harrison Ford. Like, they do all of these things where you can go, I see what they're doing. It's interesting. And then every step of the way, they just drop the ball completely.
Yeah. In the beginning, I thought the leader introduction, like we see that the first 2-3 minutes, we see the leader and we're like, oh snap.
Yeah.
We're getting some like cleanup on Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
That's super cool.
I think that's cool.
Right. Terribly executed. It executed horribly.
Very quickly.
Would have been better if they hid it from us.
Yes.
Straight up.
Well, and like we were talking about this a little bit too, like you can pick up on what is happening to Red Hulk within like the first 30 minutes of the movie, because they're showing you like when they go into where the leader's been, Echo 1 base, and they're flipping through the files and whatnot. They show you something that could be interesting, but you immediately go, oh, I know what he's doing here.
Yeah.
And it just lessens even the reveal of Red Hulk later on. And I think they dropped the ball on that so much, because it could have been this really, really incredible reveal, but it's very convenient and very easy to piece together very fast in the movie.
It's a friend of ours, Matt. He commented on one of our YouTube videos.
Friend of the show,
Matt Lothar. Shout out. He hit it on the head that this movie looks like it feels like it's shot out of order.
Yes,
it's just
I read that too. I think that's perfect.
So weird. So that is like in an essence, like yes, it's shot out of order. That choice to show him there and then to apply the reasoning for him to be shown there throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's so obvious what's happening. It leaves no there's no mystery in the movie. We went and listened to some other people review this and they like talk about the mystery. I'm like, there's not a mystery.
Not at all.
Because of that first shot, we know exactly why Isaiah stood up and shot at Ross.
Exactly.
We know exactly what happened.
Yep.
There's no mystery at all.
Yeah. And I would say too, like I've heard a couple people mention this, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think adding Red Hulk into the trailers just doubles down on the fact that there's no mystery anymore. It takes all the weight out of it. So by trying to add in some of these mystery elements, it's completely gone, because you can piece it in the film, and all the marketing material has basically just spoiled everything that the movie assumes you don't know about. I think that's such a big negative on this. It's going through thinking that you're going to piece it together slowly, but the writing, you can piece it together very quickly, and the trailers show you everything that you need to know. So it's almost like they think you just didn't watch the trailers.
Yeah.
But clearly we all would have. So being able to piece it together within like the first 10 minutes, you go, oh, I know exactly where this is going. And I did think, and it goes there.
Yeah.
It ultimately goes there. So when those big moments happen, I didn't feel the weight at all. I could care less. I was like, oh, yep, I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on some of the action sequences. I think the action sequences are all right. They are miles below Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame action sequences. Like, so far under the bar of what, like, and I'm not talking about like the stuff in the suit. I think some of the stuff in the suit with the wings in the air works a little bit better. I'm talking about the hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. There's no reason that should be bad.
No.
There's no reason that should be underwhelming because there are plenty of projects to point to where it's done right. And I've heard the super soldier like argument, well, you know, that's not fair because he's not a super soldier. Cap, Bucky are super soldiers.
Black Widow does.
But guess what? The actors are still freaking doing the choreography.
Yes, yeah.
So, and that still works. Look good. It's not a CGI. Like, they rely so much on cable work for Sam's fighting. Why?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, why? So much like flying kicks and this and
it
that.
does slow it down.
It's over the top.
Yeah.
It's so over the top. He's the most superhuman human being I've ever seen. Oh my word.
Yes, yeah.
He makes that shield like
he's whipping that thing around.
The line from Peter, like from Spider-Man in Civil War, that shield defies the laws of physics. No,
in this one it does.
This it does. It's bouncing off everybody's heads all the time. Oh my gosh, there's a scene where what's his name?
Danny Ramirez.
Danny Ramirez. And,
well, that's the actor.
And
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Joaquin and Sam are like being taken into custody, and like they hear the radio go, and the leader started to take control of their minds.
Yes.
And they're like, run. They're running with their hands behind their back. Sam
Yes.
doesn't have cuffs because he's gotten out of them.
Yeah.
And they're about to shoot them.
Yes.
3 guys are about to shoot them.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, what's about to happen here?
Yeah.
And Sam throws the shield and just bing, bing, bing off
Yeah.
of all of them, and it comes back to him.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Captain America, like Steve Rogers, the shield was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like it's unrealistic
You have
how
to
the
suspend
shield
disbelief.
works.
You do.
Yeah,
some
you
ways.
do. But it never went that far. It was
No,
always
not at all.
pretty grounded in how it
Yeah.
worked.
And
like,
I never like noticed it in the other films. Like when he's bouncing it off of a wall to hit someone, like, yes, you suspend your disbelief, but I didn't notice it. In this one though, when he hits like 6 people and it comes back to him, so unbelievable. In this one.
I mean, I'm trying to talk about like those action sequences.
Yeah.
But like they use the shield in that.
Oh, over the Indian Ocean?
That stuff is terrible.
Oh my gosh.
That's like
when he bounces, like flying at Mach 1, he throws a shield and it bounces off of 2 missiles. How is that believable? At all.
how does he throw a shield at Mach 1 while being
In front
human?
of him. That's crazy. And I don't know how you miss that in the writing. Or when you're editing it, you go, oh, that makes sense, I guess. We'll leave it in the film. Like, what in the world?
I don't.
That's where it takes me out of the movie.
It's so goofy. Like it's
Yeah.
so unbelievable. Like
But it assumes it's being very grounded.
why does Sam need to kick the shield in the air and do a butterfly kick
Okay, I
into
thought that was
someone
kind of
else's?
cool.
You did?
I thought that. I mean, yeah, like in a kind of a goofy way. In kind of a goofy way. You're right. You're right.
Necessary.
But when he did that, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of sick.
Are you serious?
I mean that in like a.
That looks like it was in Cobra Kai, bro.
Yeah, but like it's in like a goofy way. Like I didn't believe.
Yeah,
it.
it's not supposed to be goofy though. It's supposed to be like, whoa.
Yes.
It's like the thing I would compare it to is when in Age of Ultron, when Cap kicks the shield up and like kicks it into the Strucker guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Like this, it's more unbelievable than that.
Oh, I'd give you that. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Why?
Yeah. That's where I would say these sequences, like the Indian Ocean, he's coming in. I think, oh, this could be really cool. But throwing the shield out in front of him, hitting the missiles, every step of the way, it takes me out of it to where I go, gosh, I was on board and you just botched it. You just dropped the ball. Like even in the opening sequence, when he's fighting the guys in the hallway, it's a little unbelievable, but I'm like, okay, I see this. And then he fights the guy, like the big dude, takes me out of it, drops the ball. So every step of the way, like the Red Hulk sequence at the end, right? They start something with the White House. Like I think we both maybe agree. They do some really cool stuff. It looks really good. And then towards the end, they just drop the ball. Like when they get to kind of the edge of the water, it not only just looks awful, but it's just not believable anymore to me. Him fighting Red Hulk, I mean, I know they're using the suit, they're using the vibranium wings, like they're doing all of that, but it just falls apart every step of the way.
There's some blatant contradictions when we're talking about like in those moments of like, you really don't like what, like, I think there's some big stretches on what Sam's suit can and can't do.
Yes.
So in that moment,
And contradictions.
in huge contradictions, like we know Sam, they make so going back to the beginning of the movie, that, well, I guess we should just touch on that fight it's supposed to be this, I think it is this absolutely disgusting attempt at nodding to the Winter Soldier between Batroc, the fight between Batroc and Cap on the Lemurian Star.
Yeah.
Golly, not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
No, not at
they
all.
do some similar lines, right? And he takes like when Cap takes the
goggles off.
let's talk about the writing in the Lemurian Star scene because it's incredible.
Yeah.
I thought you were more than just a shield. Takes it off in French. Let's see what like.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes, that's
It
so
makes
good.
sense.
And he drops and he puts the shield down. Like all of that works. That stuff, it's not it's not even like funny. It's just bad. Like with Sam, and they try and do it. He tries to like give a quippy line, take his goggles off. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't work. But in that sequence, right before all that, we are told by Joaquin that we're reminded because I guess if you didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, you wouldn't know this, but Sam's suit is from Wakanda.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so there's connotations with that.
Yeah.
That it's bulletproof,
indestructible,
made of vibranium. And that I was like, that would make sense that we like Sam needs a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, a little, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like he should be bulletproof. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Like I think the shield can still work. I think, but that guy he's fighting stabs him.
Yeah.
Through the suit. And so I'm like, okay, so the suit's not vibranium, but we get why would Wakanda make a suit that's not woven with vibranium? They say that they weave vibranium in their clothes.
So why not?
So why would it not be?
They only gave him wings and cheaped out on him.
Yeah, they outsourced the rest of it is what they did to China. I don't understand that. It's like that feels. I'm gonna get on. I'll say I feel like that's nitpicky, but it's just weird. Like I'm like, okay,
it just exposes the writing.
Yeah,
that
like
they didn't put a lot of thought into.
If that was the only issue, I could forget about it and I could get over it. But then we go into the Hulk fight, and it's kind of like, okay, so the whole suit needs to be vibranium, so it disperses some of these punches and kinetic energy. Mm-hmm. And it's just super wishy-washy.
It's inconsistent. Yeah, it just doesn't work. You do kind of notice those things because there's so many contradictions throughout this. And it's tough. I like one thing I did want to kind of talk on is they dropped the ball again with Giancarlo Esposito's character. Completely.
Is that how you say his name?
That's how he said it. He like everybody's saying Esposito. And there's like an interview where he's like, it's Esposito. And everybody's like, oh, okay, dude. Like, we'll say it right.
Well, you got it here first. We're getting it right. Friend of the show, Carlo Esposito.
Yes.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. But he's so underused. He's such a good actor. He gets one okay action sequence where he attacks Sam's car. You get kind of a moment there. Again, I would say it's still derivative of the Winter Soldier. Like they're trying to do the underpass under like the overpass sequence with Bucky and Steve.
Yeah.
And it's still like it doesn't reach that. It's still weird. It's still kind of clunky. And he has some of those moments where it could have been good. Yeah. You know, he's kind of hunting Sam. Sam doesn't have the suit. Like they're trying something, but it's still he's underused. It doesn't work, and he ultimately just ends up being this like pawn of a side character that is just not used well at all. And I almost wish they would have leaned more into him throughout the movie because he's such a good actor, and I just think they don't do anything with it.
It's pretty lame. It's super lame.
Yeah, it's. Captain America Brave New World, if I could sum it up in 2 words, I would say derivative and convenient.
Yeah, for sure. Also, talking about that, he takes a hatchet to the obliques.
Yes, he does.
And then a knife to the chest.
And he's still just kicking.
And they think I feel like they think they covered their bases when they're like, oh, wow, Wakandan Kevlar.
Yeah. No.
Well, the knife's still sticking out of his chest, so it's still a contusion. Like it's still like he's still been
blood's
stabbed.
Not pouring out of him.
Like it's still lodged in his chest. About would you say that's 6 inches?
That's a lot.
No, it's a joke.
I know.
I mean, it's still like lodged in his chest.
Yeah, true.
Doesn't work great. That's super
that
weird.
Really work.
It's most superhuman human I've ever seen in a movie. Something I do want to talk about. Definitely want to talk about the score.
Didn't notice it.
It's not good.
Like it's almost like non-existent.
I don't even think like Captain America theme is such a prominent.
And it's played in every film.
Recognize it.
Yeah.
And
it's played in the Avengers
movies. Like really adds to the scenes. Like it's in the Batroc scene.
Yeah.
It's in they use it throughout Winter Soldier and in Civil War, and I think
in Avengers, he gets his moments. Like I think when he grabs the hammer in Endgame, like they play the theme, don't they? Or maybe I'm.
It's very reminiscent of that. I would say,
but it's not like
they don't use it there.
Yeah.
But there is nothing like that here.
Yeah.
There's no like
noticeable
Sam Cap theme, music, score, anything to write. Like there's nothing, and I don't even think I'm like bummed because I feel like they could have just used the theme
and just been like, "Oh, cool,"
and I would have been fine with it.
Yeah,
but ultimately, I think what it's like, the movie kind of insults us as an audience a little bit.
Yeah,
because it tries to shove down our throats that Sam is Captain America.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's not like, I get that he's Captain America. Show me. Don't tell me, because over and over and over again, they just make so many efforts to get this across to us.
To tell us.
Like,
they
this is Captain America. Captain America doesn't do this. Captain America doesn't do this. I'm Cap. You're Cap. Like, oh, I speak Japanese. Like, they're trying to, like, be... I don't... Like, it's like... It's... And that's not, like... Those aren't, like, big deal. Like, that... The Japanese thing's not a big deal. But... It doesn't make me feel like Sam's Captain America at the end of the day. Yeah. And there are moments when I'm going to say it. I think when people call Sam Cap still at this point, it's kind of weird.
I didn't feel like it was weird personally. I think maybe just because I've seen Sam enough, I'm on board with passing the mantle to him, that it didn't feel weird to me. I do feel like he was Cap.
I think I mean like when they're like,
when they specifically say like, "Hey, Cap,"
yeah,
because that's what they called Steve Rogers. Like it does feel.
I think it's one maybe just a weird choice because they call Steve Rogers that, but they don't like exclusively refer to Steve Rogers as Captain America.
Yeah,
a lot of times they just call him Captain Rogers or Steve, and we know he's Captain America. They're really trying to like get it across that this guy's Captain America, and guess what? He's holding the shield. I can make that connection.
Make the connection. Yeah, I would say because we have established Sam and Captain America, Steve Rogers is passing the mantle. I do think they oversold it, but I do see him kind of just entering into the role and just being Captain America, being the symbol, because it is passing.
I agree. I think they overdo it with like trying to make
the dialogue,
Sam
the
look
exposition
so cool.
of it. Yeah.
Like it's like, we get it. It's over explaining. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, and can we talk about the dialogue in this movie?
Yeah, we did a little bit.
It's pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
Across the whole movie.
The whole movie, it's bad.
It's not just moments. Like, there's some moments that are better than others, but the point that I wanted to make was actors like Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, you can tell they're doing their best with what they're given, but they're just not given much. And because of that, it doesn't deliver. I see Sam in the suit. I think he looks like Captain America, but they don't give us enough to really buy into him fully as Captain America, if that makes sense. Do you think that they give us enough?
I just don't think it's fair to Anthony Mackie at all. Like I don't think it's fair to him because I would say no. Like I don't. I wanted to come into this movie like, yeah, they made a good decision giving him the shield. I don't know that I'm there yet. Like I don't. Part of this movie is they introduce the Avengers, like reintroduce like starting the Avengers again. Yeah. That was added in at the end of filming because it plays no significance to the rest of the story at all. It adds nothing to anyone's motivations. Yeah. It's just there so we can be like, oh, wow.
Avengers are coming
back. Thank you so much for this, for feeding me this cruddy thing. Like, and it's just like the scenes and the dialogue's written so bad. They clear the Oval Office so Thaddeus can tell Sam that. And
oh my gosh.
And they come right out of the meeting and Sam sits down and Danny Ramirez is like, what he say? And he goes, this is not exaggerated. He wants me to restart the Avengers. Awful
and they're both
dialogue.
Just like, wow.
Awful
in a room
dialogue.
full of 100 people.
Awful dialogue.
And he doesn't even say it in a whisper.
So terrible.
He doesn't whisper.
So terrible.
Oh,
It's so jarring. It's not good.
Yeah, and it's not really funny either. Like, jokes don't land. The humor in this doesn't. I mean, we kind of noticed this. I mean,
so real quick, we did not touch on this. The best part of this movie is Bucky shows up.
Yes.
And it's the best part.
And it's the first time we laugh in the movie, and it's towards the third act.
When we say we mean our theater.
Everyone
in our like, there were a couple chuckles, I think, and people going, huh. This was the first collective laugh that came out of this movie, and it was a conversation between Bucky and Sam.
Because that chemistry works.
Yeah. It's very, to me, it is very evident how awful the rest of the character chemistry is in the rest of the movie, because
that scene's like 5 minutes long.
It's not even
that
long.
That.
It's not even that long.
And we were all locked into that scene.
Yeah, that scene in the movie.
Laughed a couple of times in that scene, and you just get this sense of like, gosh, that's the only real chemistry that works. Because I don't think Joaquin works as Falcon. I just don't think that
I don't
chemistry
want to rag
between
on
him.
him.
Yeah, because I know he hasn't been given a lot to work with there.
I think like Sam feels pretty flat in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joaquin feels like just like the most annoying. Like I'm like, hey, here you go up here with like annoying side characters. Like,
it's just the dialogue
like
he's given, the line
Awkwafina
delivery.
in Shang-Chi, but at least Awkwafina's kind of funny in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Like
he's not
funny, tries to be funny. Oh my gosh, the old jokes to Isaiah. Shut up. Stop talking.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It just keeps going.
He
it's
feels
not
like
just
an
one.
11-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So annoying. And he's like, oh, I'm the new Falcon. I'm like, dude, will you just shut up? When he gets blasted out of the sky, I'm like, thank goodness he's in surgery. He's not in the rest of the movie.
I love how you just said, let's not like hound on him too much. And then you just said that. You're right, though. Like, when he's in surgery, that's probably one of the strongest parts for Sam.
Yeah.
He really shines.
Really, Joaquin's best performance here is
in a hospital
bed. During surgery when he's put under. That's the most compelling performance Joaquin gives.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm being a douche right now. It might not even be his fault. Because Sam doesn't deliver lines well either.
Yeah, both of them have bad dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think Danny Ramirez, at times I feel like maybe he's not delivering, but you're right. It could just be the dialogue. It could be the direction. The director's
I think the direction's bad. I think it comes across more cringy than it needs to.
Yeah.
And
it's very on the nose.
I think they make Sam too stoic in moments.
Yeah.
And there's a line at the end of this movie. This is a mess, by the way. We are jumping all over the place, but whatever. There's a line at the end of this movie where Joaquin... So I'm going to say this. Joaquin's good in this sequence when he is talking to Sam and he's like, I shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
Like, you never got blasted out of the sky and you're always on point. And Sam gives the worst response to this, in my opinion, that is, because if I'm not on point, people get hurt. Or something along those lines.
I have to be because I'm Captain America or something. Yeah, something like that.
Shut up.
Yeah, like what?
Shut up.
Of course.
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Like that just doesn't work.
That's that's awful line. That's not even Anthony Mackie's fault. It's awful line.
Yeah.
The most interesting conversation we get introduced is Bucky and Sam, and Bucky says something to Sam that I actually think works well, but also I think is not great either. It's the most interesting. It's just the most interesting theme into this movie. We have the foundational theme of Sam's character introduced an hour and 30 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
And it is the line where he says, Steve inspired you inspired people, but you make people want to aspire. I think
people aspire to you.
I think that works, but only because Sam's human.
Yes.
That is the only reason he's saying that. Mm-hmm. And to say that people didn't aspire to be like Captain America, you are that's so annoying because guess what? That totally undoes That makes Winter Soldier when Steve's giving his speech on the helicarriers a mute point.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't inspire those shield agents.
Yeah.
They raise up and they aspire to have morality like Captain America. That's what that he doesn't like yes, he inspires, but they're there to be like Cap in that moment. Yeah. That is not true. That is a terrible line.
And that's just a lack of understanding in the writing of who the Steve Rogers character was.
Yeah.
They just didn't care, or I don't know, but they just don't care enough to really think that through and say,
that is said such on a whim. I just said, I think it works for Sam, but if you really want to, I think it makes sense. Okay, so Sam's trying to be, I think it works in terms of what they're setting up because Sam's working with the government. He's trying to bring people hope. I think that I agree that he is something to aspire to, and they give notes of that some of the soldiers are like, oh, my brother joined the Air Force, I wonder why, hinting at Cap or Sam.
Well, and Falcon says that too. He says, I didn't want to be Cap, I wanted to be you.
Right.
So he was aspiring to be him. So they do add some of those moments in there.
Right. So I think that works, but to say that Captain America, no one ever was brought up to a certain high, holding themselves to a higher standard because of Steve Rogers, that's awful.
He was literally the poster boy for the Avengers.
That is so stupid. Yeah. That's terrible. That's taking away from Steve's character, in my opinion. Yeah. And that doesn't work for me. If you want to touch on Steve, that's so to say people could, Captain America didn't aspire people to be better than themselves is a terrible line. That's a terrible line. That's supposed to be, and I'm saying that's supposed to be an impactful line. And when I came home and thought about it, I was like, that's an awful line. Yeah. That's a terrible line. Yeah. That totally strips away some of that's just not true. Yeah. It's just not true.
Mm-hmm. It's just.
Do you think Clint, Wanda, those people didn't sign the accords because Captain America inspired them? Yeah. No. That's not true.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't. And I think things like that in the writing and the dialogue just show you that this does feel like a movie that's kind of just cut, thrown together. There's not a lot of care taken into it. I think if somebody were to come to me and say, what's a good example of seeing a movie with reshoots, I'd say this is probably the best example. You feel it. It feels jarring. It's not the most cohesive. And it just doesn't work that well.
Tim Blake Nelson as the leader.
Yeah.
What a phoned-in performance.
Inconvenient.
Awful.
The man teleports.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's really not
good. He is
good.
Nothing like he is Incredible Hulk.
No. Well, and he's nothing, and this is, I don't want to force comic books onto it. He's not that much like the comic. He's not stoic. He's not intimidating. He's just there. And he just pops up in different outfits, wearing glasses, does something, and walks away.
It feels like he doesn't even want to be there.
No. I think the only time I felt like we were getting a good moment was when he initially was revealed to Sam and Joaquin. Beyond that, it's just why are you here?
They hide his look for a while.
Yeah.
And when they finally show it to me, I'm kind of why?
Yeah.
It's really nothing special.
No, and it's very, very different than the comics. I know they're trying to make it a little bit more grounded and realistic, but it's just, whatever. I didn't really care about it.
It feels like he's reading off cue cards.
Yeah, it does.
In some of the reshot, the reshot CGI background stuff with him, just him. It feels like this guy's it feels like Tim Nelson is pissed off. He's got recalled to reshoot this cruddy movie again.
So he's just gonna do it.
And he's very frustrated, and he's just monotone reading lines.
Yeah.
That actor is a funny actor.
Yeah. There's some good moments in The Incredible Hulk.
He brings no character to that. Well, he brings nothing. He brings no character to that character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's not I'm thinking oh, this guy's gonna be goofy. He's gonna kind of be silly, not goofy, but he's gonna be humorous. He's gonna have a sense of humor. He's so straight, one-dimensionally. Yeah, I told you what would happen. It's dude, this hit sucks, and it's feels like this guy didn't want to be in this movie at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of these lines can feel that way. Like you said, like it's interesting that Sam is so flat too. Now I think Anthony Mackie is trying, but they make his character so flat that sometimes you feel like these actors can't act. It's almost confusing. You're like, we kind of talked about that, I think, in the non-spoiler of, you're like, oh, these guys, they're just not acting. But then you see the moments where it's like, no, they're just given bad dialogue and bad writing. And it's awful. They're just not given very much in this movie. And it's really unfortunate, honestly. It's
this movie is very hurt by not having Bruce Banner in it, in my opinion.
I think that could have been really interesting to bring him into it.
It makes no sense that he's not in it.
Because this feels, I've heard a lot of people say, this is very much has sequel elements to The Incredible Hulk. Like there's too much in here that links back to The Incredible Hulk. Not having Bruce Banner in this, I think, is a miss.
Well, they introduced things too early on. Like, people figure crap out way too early. And
for Sam not to call Bruce.
That makes no... And because of She-Hulk, thank you so much, we know he's around.
Yeah, and he's just chilling.
If he's got time for his cousin, I think he could take a call from Captain freaking America.
Yeah, time with his cousin to sit in the backyard and have a cookout. Like... Of course he could show up.
But he's got his son, Scar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's
so
on
he's
dad issues.
Yeah, he's busy.
He's babysitting.
Yeah.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Terrible show. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we're not talking about that. There's no reason Sam doesn't call Bruce. Why? Like, it's very evident that Sam knows where these people are from, how they relate to, like, how Thaddeus is, like, coming involved with the leader. And I don't know in what universe, if you know that Thunderbolt Ross is taking gamma pills, you don't reach out. You most likely have
the gamma expert.
The gamma expert on speed dial, and you don't even make a single line dedicated to try and reach out to him.
Yeah, and Sam spent the last how many movies in a team working with Bruce and all of these other people in the Avengers? What? We're not going to call Bruce? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Especially because it's so connected to the Incredible Hulk. I mean, he knows Tim Blake Nelson. Like, he knows his character. Why would he not say, hey, you dealt with this before.
Like, they're basically work partners.
You know this guy. Like, can you come in? Like, talk him down? Like, something. Like, it makes no sense. I think that is a big miss not having him in this movie.
He'd be a perfect addition. There's no reason why he shouldn't be there. He seems like he would be kind of invested in this story of Ross and all this stuff. Also, they do a redemption arc in this for Ross off screen, by the way.
With Betty for Liv Tyler's
But it's off screen.
Yeah.
And so the Thunderbolt Ross you get is like different.
Yeah. He's like trying to be a better man, and
I don't think it works.
No. Especially it's just uncomfortable in how it kind of is juxtaposition to like them trying to make him angry, trying to get him out. Like it feels weird from what we've also seen too from his character.
That's weird too. I think it's just so goofy and obvious. Like it's like kind of I feel like they treat us like we're stupid.
Yeah.
And because there's just like they have to tell us everything. They have to tell me that Thaddeus is sick.
Yeah.
They have to tell me that. Guess what? I derived that when he was taking pills.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's good. You wrote the scene well enough to show him turning his back, taking pills. Okay, so he doesn't want everyone to know something about this. Okay. But because of the way the film's shot and structured, you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, there's, I think, simple fixes to this. I don't necessarily feel like he's not trying to be angry.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
I'm kind of like, this is just a different character. He's like super calm and collected.
Yeah.
I think introductions of something like a pacemaker would make sense. Like, okay, so he's trying to like keep his cool, keep his heart rate down, which also would tie into the Incredible Hulk, kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he's got a pacemaker. He's monitoring his heart rate. That tells us a lot that we don't need you to tell me later.
Yes.
Okay, that helps me a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
so then we could have moments where he's getting stressed out, and we're here. We can audibly as a audience hear the pacemaker beeping and speeding up, and he cools himself down.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to be there.
There's moments and things
he needs to regulate his anger before he loses it, which just doesn't happen. He's calm, he's collected, then he just loses his anger once, and then guess what? He's just off the rails angry the rest of the time.
Yes.
That scene. There's that scene where those guys are arguing and it makes him mad. Could you imagine if they just added in like the increasing beat of a pacemaker to that? Like
in
ding,
the background,
ding,
the sound
ding,
is like,
ding,
yeah.
ding, and
Each time it's getting faster.
It's faster, and he's like visibly getting angry. Instead of him going, enough, bang, and bangs the table and like smashes it, he just like crushes the reader or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be so much better than the way, like, it's just like, oh, he's getting angry. Oh, guess what? He's super strong.
Yeah.
Like, stop it. I'm not an idiot. Golly.
Yeah, they could have done so much better. I think like he has some moments in the action that are cool, but leading up to building up to Red Hulk, they could have just done it so much better. Let's wrap up our thoughts a little bit though here. Here's what I'll say, and I've said it before. I was just really disappointed. Going into this year, I wanted to start off with at least a movie that I could say was a good time in the theater. Going into Thunderbolts, going into Fantastic Four, I was just really disappointed. I love the Captain America movies. I want them to be good. I want Sam to embody who Captain America is. And while I see him having a place in future movies, in Avengers movies, I don't see him leading. I don't see him in what we know from Captain America. And that was just really disappointing to me.
Ditto. I don't even want to give it more like words to it.
Yeah, we've said a lot.
Like I this is my least favorite MCU movie I've ever seen in a theater.
Wow.
I've never watched an MCU movie in the theater and felt angry.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt.
I would definitely put a couple movies, I would say below this, but it's on the bottom of my list.
I think it's awful.
It's on the bottom of my list.
I think it actually earns an awful from you.
Wow. Honestly, after sitting on it for a day, I wanted to be a little bit more optimistic, probably even in our non-spoiler. I think I'd go as far as to say it's pretty awful. It's worse than Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It is super derivative of all this other stuff.
All of it.
And it does nothing well. Like the things that we just said we liked are done way better in other movies.
True. Yeah, you're exactly right.
We just said, oh, the best part of the movie is Sam and Bucky's relationship. Guess what? It's done way better in Civil War. It's done way better in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
You're right.
It's the moment between Sam and Bucky in Endgame when Steve disappears.
Yes.
That is all way better than this.
Exactly.
Way better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's way better.
Everywhere else.
It does nothing special. It takes, you talked about, like, we were talking about, it tries to take, like, you could at least give some of these lower MCU movies shot, like Love and Thunder. I'm just going to say it. I think this is better than Love and Thunder. In my opinion, by far, because at least Love and Thunder doesn't feel like a Frankenstein hack job.
Yeah.
Okay? You might not like the direction. I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't like how goofy it was.
Yeah.
I didn't like all these things. But guess what? At least it's a consistent story.
Story from start to finish.
At least some of the stuff works sometimes.
Yeah.
This, it's like nothing works.
Everything they try to do falls apart.
You know what? Taika Waititi in Love and Thunder, guess what? He swung big, but I think he missed.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give this movie credit for standing in the batter's box.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie that came out. They took no shots.
Yeah.
They did nothing special.
Yeah.
Red Hulk maybe, but
was
like
their only
that's
swing.
so it feels so gimmicky.
It does,
and it doesn't even feel like it's natural. And so when it comes out, guess what? It's not even close to good Hulk moments.
Yeah, we've seen it better. We've seen better Hulk moments.
I mean, it doesn't have to be better, but it should at least not just be so under what like.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why is it so much worse than the scene of Bruce hulking out on the helicarrier?
Yeah.
Why?
Let me ask you this. Is it still at straight to streaming for you? Or would you put it lower?
It's tough because it would go straight to streaming. I think I think it's terrible. But I understand people who say that they were able to turn their brain off and watch it. But I don't think you should have to do that on a Captain America movie. This movie
Especially when
has
we
a
have
lot.
good ones.
This movie like people were like, yeah, but like 6 out of 10 Marvel movies, like you still like, yeah, you're right. It might be a 6 out of 10, but it had pressure on it like it was an Infinity War. Yeah. Because this is the first time we are seeing a new like
iteration of the character
like
we know.
Other than like No Way Home, which is super contained. We're seeing the outfall of Endgame. We're seeing what's happening, like what's going on. Okay, this is the first time we're seeing it. This is the first time we are introduced to a new character for layman's terms, right? Like this Sam is Cap. This is new. Okay, this is someone who's gonna be leading these movies in the future. Yeah. This is the first time we're getting it.
Yeah.
Okay?
You had a lot to prove.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And it's awful. I think it is. For me,
barely
over unwatchable. I cannot stand this. And
it's a rough one.
And I feel like I let the bad really outweigh the good, and I understand that people pick and choose on things. I said I wasn't going to bring it up, but at least in movies like Amazing Spider-Man, the things it does well, it does really, really well. And the things it does well, it doesn't do well. It doesn't actually, when you compare it to what it's trying to do, it does it terribly.
Yeah. Because even some bad movies, you can say, have a couple high highs and just a lot more low lows. This just has all lows.
This makes Falcon and Winter Soldier so much better to me. It makes that movie
so you've come around. You like it
like
I do as well.
You know what? I'll take it. It's so much better than this. Oh my gosh, it's so much better than this.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a shame. Do you think it? I'll ask this and then we'll wrap up. Do you think it sets up some things moving forward to the MCU pretty well?
No.
You don't think so?
I know you do. I
think it adds some things that I can see in the future. More so than maybe some other recent films that we've had, but I don't think it necessarily sets it up well.
Based on this, I don't think the Russo brothers should rely on Sam's Cap to lead the Avengers.
I hope they don't.
That's a miss.
Well, here's what I'll say, though. To counter your point, we have seen Falcon and we've seen Captain America and we've seen characters done really well by the Russo brothers. So maybe if he does, they do it well.
I agree with you.
It could happen.
I agree with you. I'm just saying at this moment.
Yeah.
So let me restate this.
Maybe pivot.
I think the Russo brothers, I'm not too worried because the Russo brothers are going to be getting Sam back. Yeah. Okay, this is the first time movie we're seeing Sam without the Russo brothers direction, and oh my gosh, just let them direct every Marvel movie, I guess. but yeah, generally characters when the Marvel characters are better in the hands of the Russo brothers. Generally, like they're usually just done better.
Yeah.
So I think that it won't we don't I'm not gonna dwell on this movie long. I think it's terrible, but once we're done with this, I'm getting over it.
Move on.
And we're moving
See what
on.
Happens next.
I'm not dwelling on it. I'm not taking any stock from this and holding anything in the future to any standard because I don't think it sets much up. I think it does a disservice to Anthony Mackie, making me feel like I'm worried about him leading the Avengers. Yeah. That's not fair. That's the movie's fault. That's not his fault. I think Anthony Mackie can do it. This movie makes me feel like he can't, so I don't even want to just count it. I almost want to omit it. That's what makes me want to tear it down a level because I feel like it hurts him more than it does any sort of good.
Yeah. I would agree.
Because I would say, okay, yeah, I think Sam's would be a great Captain America. I think all these things, I see him as Captain America. He feels like Captain America. I came out of this movie I don't think any of that really now.
Yeah.
And it's not even his fault, which is annoying.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what they do because Cap is such a crucial character in the Avengers. We'll see how they play it. I really don't know. I think if this movie doesn't do well critically, which I think it's getting pretty mediocre reviews, maybe they do shift. They may have to pivot a little bit. But we'll see. That's our thoughts, though. Spoilery goodness.
But hey, if you like it, that's okay.
That's okay.
It's just our opinion.
It is subjective, but
if you love it, awesome. Guess what?
Yeah, that's great. I always
don't feel like you're gonna be not want to watch any of our other stuff because guess what? we're never talking about this movie ever
Probably
again.
not, no.
So if you love it and you disagree, that's great.
I think that's
I
good.
can see if you can look at this movie and just appreciate what you got, that's so
Yes.
great. And guess,
I wish I had that experience.
I wish I
really
had
do.
that with this.
Yeah.
I can definitely do that in other movies very easily. This was just I think it hurts being off the back of Civil War and Winter Soldier in a way. So I think it's
just not for me.
no.
There's definitely some, you would probably say, a lot of people would say bad movies that I can enjoy. This is just not one of them. I can't separate myself enough, I think, just because of all of the previous films that we've gotten in the standard and getting quality. I just can't separate myself from it enough to say that I still had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's a couple moments that I smiled, but overall, I just didn't come out of it very, very excited.
Oh, you didn't like when they pulled the electric Hummer up? And took the shield out of the just the shield.
Just the shield. None other gear and stuff. Just the shield. Love some good ad placement. Gosh.
That might be my least favorite shot in the whole thing. That was so dumb. That was
They
so
paused
dumb
to do that. Gosh, I hate that.
That's
a pet peeve of mine. Ad placement in films, and it's people are gonna shoot me because of Man of Steel, but there's some awful ad placement. IHOP, Sears, dude. There's some bad moments.
They opened
I
that.
Can't do
it's
that.
not a trunk. What's it called? Like because it's in
like
the front, right? So it's
like the hood, but it is
an electric
a trunk.
vehicle.
Yeah.
So it comes up and it's
just cap shield.
I would love the thinking of you're driving a Hummer with all this backspace, and you're like, "Yep, I'm putting the shield where I just have no access to it."
Inconveniently, yeah. If I need it on
Zero
a quick whim,
access.
I've got to get out and open up this front piece.
No,
that's great.
Could you imagine if that happened in Winter Soldier when Bucky like hit the top of the car?
Oh gosh, it wouldn't
They're
happen.
like, all right, Sam, park the car, pop the trunk, I'll grab my shield, and we'll go.
Under fire,
so
like
stupid. All right, we're not talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
But hey, that's our thoughts. We gave it straight to streaming.
Yeah.
After sitting on it a day, I like it just about as much as I did when I came out of the movie, but which was not a lot. Yeah. So
we got some exciting movies I'm more optimistic about coming in the future. I hope we like a lot more. So this was just more of a negative one, I would say, unfortunately. But there's a lot of good coming out this year that I'm excited for, that I think we're both going to really enjoy. Maybe we get into a little bit deeper. Follow us, though. Subscribe on YouTube. We've got an Instagram. We've got a TikTok. Hit us up in all of those areas. Give us some feedback. We've talked about it a little bit before. Give us some good feedback, some things maybe you saw in the film that we didn't talk about. Maybe some feedback on kind of the channel, some things that you want to see. We'd love to see all of that there.
Yeah. If you disagree, just go roast us in the comments.
Yeah, please. That's fine. I'm open. I know people are going to enjoy some of this movie. I'm open to be absolutely roasted because that's just how it is. Yep. But thank you guys for checking us out, our spoiler discussion for Captain America Brave New World. That's it, baby.